Hey everybody, how are you all doing on this fine day today? This is going to be a different sort of video that is completely unrelated to my normal musical content, but I thought it important to do. So, in case you weren't aware, recently FNaF Security Breach got released, and safe to say we've been waiting for that for quite a while, and in case you were unaware, I have been a massive fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's series since the first game came out all that time ago, and I'm actually incredibly invested, but I don't talk about it very often anymore because, safe to say, the FNaF community gets a bad rep from some of its more interesting members. So, to celebrate the release of FNaF Security Breach, I thought I'd take a look at this Five Nights at Freddy's Iceberg and just see how much that I can guess off of it. I've been a fan for a while, so hopefully I can get a decent score? Hopefully I can guess a decent amount of these. So let's open this in a new tab and zoom in a bit here. Full screen it. Maybe not. Okay, let's get started. So, Toreador March, that's super easy. That's the song that Freddy plays when you run out of power in the first game, and it's a classical music piece that has kind of been adapted into the game. You know the one, the do 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 do. That one's easy. Matt Pat, the game theorists, made a lot of excellent Five Nights at Freddy's theories. Some of them maybe not so excellent, but they're fun to watch. Dawko, very good YouTuber, makes a lot of FNaF content. He's very skilled. He was one of the first people to beat 50-20 mode on Ultimate Custom Night. XOR. Oh god, am I gonna get one wrong already? XOR. It sounds familiar, but what? Huh? Hold on. Is this the XOR is special? Oh, XOR is the name of like the weird shadowy deity that shows up in like 50-20. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I know who they are. I just didn't know their name. Kitchen camera, another easy one. In the first game, the kitchen camera was blocked off. You couldn't see it. You could hear Chica rattling around, and there was this old theory that Golden Freddy used to hide in there or whatever. Oh, by the way, for this first video, I'm probably just gonna do the first 3, maybe 4 sections here. And if you're confused right now, we're in this little endoskeleton one, and the way the iceberg works, I probably should have explained this at the beginning of the video, is that as we go deeper and deeper, the things become more and more obscure, and eventually it gets to the point where I'm probably really gonna have to think about some of this stuff. Anyway, Endo 2, that's this fella right here who showed up in the vents. He's also a character in FNaF World, along with Endo 1, who was, he was like the uglier version, nobody liked him. RWQF sort of wax swift. Okay, so that's Shadow Bonnie. His asset was called that in the game files, and eventually when he was a character in FNaF World, that was the official name he was given. Showtime in FNaF VR Help Wanted, there was this Showtime button that like did nothing. I believe they had actually fully developed the sequence that was supposed to happen, but Scott cut it for one reason or another. Markiplier, he's the king of Five Nights at Freddy's, dude. Who doesn't know that? Ian and Braden, Braden possibly. I'm not certain who those two are. Two people. Maybe they're like, because I know at the time of the first game, Scott Cawthon had 2 children. Maybe those are his kids' names. I don't know. 1987. Okay, first of all, 1987, the Bite of 87 reference in FNaF 1. If you put 1987, 1987 into the custom night menu, then Golden Freddy would jump scare you. Pretty easy. Book series. There's actually 2 book series, the Silver Eyes ones and the Fazbear Frights that we have now. They're just series. Scott Cawthon, that's the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, obviously. Shadow Freddy showed up in FNaF 2. He would be sitting down where a withered Freddy would be in Parts and Service, I believe. He was a rare thing that happened. And then he also showed up in FNaF 3, leading you to the back room, and in FNaF World, I think. It's me. Occasionally, the phrase "it's me" would pop up in FNaF 1 when Golden Freddy showed up or on the walls, and Eventually, it kind of became a staple symbol of Golden Freddy in the series. Markiplier, well, we already talked about Markiplier. Golden Freddy, okay, so Golden Freddy, who actually used to be called Yellow Bear, is this, everybody knows who Golden Freddy is. He's the mysterious golden version of Freddy, this weird entity that kind of became the big mysterious figure of the series. In FNaF 1, he'd show up on a poster, and then he'd appear in your office, and if you didn't make him go away by flipping up the camera, he'd jump scare you. In FNaF 2, he'd show up on night 6 and 7 if you had him set on the custom night. He didn't really show up in FNaF 3. There were a couple theories, like how he'd show up on the left side of your office. I'm not sure how true that is. Or that Phantom Freddy is actually Golden Freddy because he looks a bit yellow, but I'm not so sure about that one. And then FNaF 4, he appeared as Nightmare Fredbear. In Sister Location, he wasn't present, but in the Sister Location Custom Night, there was a mode called Golden Freddy. In FNaF 6, the Pizzeria Simulator, he also wasn't present, I don't think, if I remember correctly. He was in Ultimate Custom Night, though, and if you used the Death Coin on him, Fredbear would jump scare you. Bite of 87, we talked about that with 1987, the mysterious frontal lobe chomping incident that first gets mentioned in FNaF 1 and supposedly takes place in FNaF 2, because FNaF 2 takes place in 1987. Nose honk, you click on the poster. In most all of the FNaF games where Freddy is, his nose, he'll make a little honking noise. Private room, in Sister Location, you can go to a private room and fight Ennard in a more classic FNaF styled way. Leon Riskin, isn't he the sound design guy for FNaF? Hold on. Isn't he the... No. Leon Riskin. Isn't he the sound design guy? Yeah, sound designer, if I'm... Yeah, okay. JJ was the weird alternate version of BB or Balloon Boy who would appear underneath your desk in FNaF 2. I think... Did they show up in FNaF World? I think they might have. I can't quite remember. Halloween update. Okay, so the first 4 FNaF games all had Halloween updates where the decorations would change, but FNaF 4 was special because it added a whole new set of animatronics and whole new content. Living Tombstone made some really awesome FNaF songs. Sure, you've all heard of Foxy singing. In FNaF 1, when he was in Pirate's Cove, he'd occasionally sing a little tune that went like do-dum-dum-dum, diddly-dum-dum, or something like that. William Afton, that's Purple Guy. Alright. First section done, and the only one that I didn't really know was like XOR, but I knew who that was, I just didn't know what they were called. And Ian, Braden, not entirely certain about that one. But anyway, next is the toxic meter section. We might actually only get through 2. How long have I been recording for? I've been recording for about 10 minutes. But we might only get through this section and then have to split it up into some more parts. I'm gonna have to start going through these faster. Marionette versus Puppet. Okay, basically the Puppet character, first introduced in FNaF 2, is officially called the Marionette, but people just called him the Puppet. And a really long time ago, like in the FNaF 2 days, there was this wild theory that they were separate entities, and there was also this other name people gave him called the Puppet Master or whatever, but basically their actual name's the Marionette, you just called him the Puppet, that kind of thing. The actual toxic meter itself, in FNaF 2 there was originally going to be a toxic meter when you put on the mask that prevented you from wearing it for too long. Presumably this was before Foxy was added and or before he would have gone through the mask anyway. Endo01 looking at camera. Is this talking about in FNaF 1 when you would go into the parts and service room and the endoskeleton would be looking at the camera? Here. FNaF 1 parts and service. I think there was an Easter egg where everything in the room would start looking at you. Yeah, here it is. This. Everything in the room would be looking at you. And Endo 1 here would also be looking at you. I think that's what it's talking about anyway. Chipper & Sons Lumber Company, one of Scott's failed games. It was, Scott originally made a lot of games for Five Nights at Freddy's, if you didn't know. Most of them failed because they were all Christian themed, and this one failed especially hard because people thought the characters were very creepy. And fun fact, Scott actually took that idea and was like, what if I made a game about it? And then FNaF 1 was actually supposed to be Scott's final game. but it spawned a whole franchise, so good on you, Scott. Kira Breed Risley, they're okay, they're the co-author of the Silver Eyes, who wrote the Silver Eyes book. Desura, isn't that the name of the game? Like, FNaF was originally released on a platform called Desura, I think, before it got Steam greenlit, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Desura FNaF. Yeah. Just when it was Desura. Okay, yeah, look, greenlight. Desura page, yeah, so it was originally released on Desura. Failed Kickstarter. This one's pretty easy. If you didn't know, originally Scott had a Kickstarter for Five Nights at Freddy's that got almost no support, and he was going to give up on the project, but he decided to make it anyway, and good on him. Fredbear and Ultimate Custom Night. We actually talked about this before, if you remember. If you use the Death Coin on Golden Freddy and Ultimate Custom Night, Fredbear will jump scare you. CD plus. Ooh, okay, interesting. In FNaF, if you hold in the order C, D, and then hit the plus key on your number pad, it'll skip the night in FNaF 1, and in FNaF 2, it'll do the same. If you press the nose, like Freddy's nose, to make the honk noise, and then do CD plus, it'll work. Freddy in the woman's bathroom. In FNaF 1, Freddy would appear in the woman's bathroom. And like you're looking at the cameras, and he would be in the ladies' bathroom. Yeah, so that one's pretty simple. Sparky. Is that the name of the? I know there was an abandoned dog animatronic. Is that what that is? Sparky FNaF. Animatronic myth. Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know that. FNaF movie. Since, what was it, like 2017 or something, there's supposedly been a FNaF movie in production. Originally it was being made by Warner Brothers, now it's being made by Blumhouse Productions, and I hope it comes out soon because I'm interested to see it. Scott voices Phone Guy. I'm pretty sure this is referring to the fact that in FNaF 1, the Phone Guy recordings were voiced by Scott himself. Is that true? Phone Guy is voiced by the game. Okay, so in all the recordings, I guess he's or all the games rather, he's voiced by Scott Cawthon. Huh. Mangle's gender. Oh. Basically, back in the days of FNaF 2 and into the days of FNaF 3, people kept debating what Mangle's gender was, whether they were a boy or a girl. And first of all, it's a robot, doesn't have a gender. But second of all, it became this whole meme in the series where, like, it takes Sister Location, for example, where Funtime Foxy, who we've at this point taken to be the assembled version of Mangle, although I'm not sure how true that is, gets referred to as like he and she. Like for example, in their in their custom night description, they're part of Girls Night, but their like description on what to do against them calls them a he. And when Mangle shows up in like FNaF World, it's the same thing. Sometimes they're referred to as he, sometimes they're referred to as she. Basically, it's just another case of Scott trolling us. Okay, so that is the first two sections of the FNaF Iceberg. Not so bad. There's going to be a part 2 of this that I'm going to upload like pretty much right after this one. I'm going to be recording most of this in one session. The only reason that I'm cutting it off here is so that my garbage internet can upload the video faster, and so that it maintains a viewer interest. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope this has been enjoyable. The next couple parts of this will be coming out very shortly, and we'll see how good I can do down here in this section, which, like, oh boy. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one.